So we'll go ahead and get started. We have a smaller crowd, but that's all right. So welcome. This is second of two of our IT informational sessions. And although we have a small group, we'll kind of go through the same agenda because we might possibly have some online participants. We've been doing a lot of planning in the last couple days, especially around technology. And so this session really was formed out of feedback yesterday that we had a lot of questions from our faculty audience about how do we make things work, how do we do things. And so we have an awesome crew of IT colleagues here. Ken is our Chief Information Security Officer, Heidi is our Director of Learning Technologies and our Training and Communication. We have our Learning Technologies staff, Lexi and, is Katie and Lexi, is Lexi joining us? No. So Katie will be here to talk, and we have a whole crew in the back of the room as well that can answer more technical questions. So with that, I'm gonna kind of kick it off and hand it over to one of you. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, good afternoon. As we get started today, one of the things I'd really like to talk about is our core systems. We have a number of systems that we use here in our operation to support our teaching and learning activities. And as we go through this transition, we really want to focus our efforts on those core systems. So we often talk about, is there new things we could do or innovative things? That's great, but we're really trying to onboard a lot of services rather quickly and get a lot of people going. So we really want to focus on those systems. So the first one is Canvas, and that's our learning management system. All of the students and all of our faculty have access to it, and people are pretty familiar with that. And we moved to it quite a while ago, and it's working pretty good. Then we have Blackboard Collaborate, which allows you to interact with students online, and you'll hear more about that in a little bit. We've got Kaltura that allows you to record and do screen captures and voiceovers on PowerPoints, different activities like that. You'll hear more about that later as well. We've got Microsoft Teams and Skype, and Teams, everyone has access to Teams. It's part of our Microsoft agreement. And it allows you to interact with your students or interact with each other live in real time. You can have meetings, invite people to meetings. You can message people. Skype also allows you to take your telephone calls when you're not on campus and allows students to use the tools as well. In Skype and Teams, there's one thing that I want to bring up because it's important, and that's that we prefer that you use Teams right now rather than Skype. So if you're going to have a meeting and you're inviting your students, we'd prefer that you use Teams. And the reason for that is we are hosting Skype locally here on campus in our data center. And when you're using Skype, your traffic has to go in and out of our data center, and the students' traffic also has to go in and out of our data center. Teams is hosted entirely in the cloud, so when you use the Teams application, the traffic simply stays outside of our data center and it's directly between Microsoft and you and Microsoft and the student or whoever you're interacting with. And that helps us from a traffic perspective because it helps keep that traffic off of our network, and it also takes us out of any kind of point of failure. So if we have problems here, it wouldn't impact the ability for that interaction to occur. So we do prefer that you use Teams over Skype. And then Office 365 itself has an awful lot of tools available to students and available to you as well. And one of the things that you might not know about Office 365 is you can download the full Office on your own personal device using Office 365. So if you log in online, there's an option for you to go ahead and install that. And that's certainly all right for you to do. So you can install it on, I believe, 4 other devices because one of them is your work device and you get 5 devices. So you should be able to install it on your own personal device and use Office at home as well. And then, kind of in the same vein as thinking about the cloud is capacity. There's been several questions that staff and faculty have raised about, do we have the capacity to bring all of these courses online? The truth is most of these services are now in the cloud. Kaltura and Canvas are hosted in Amazon Web Services. The Microsoft suite is all in Microsoft Azure. We've been working with them. They assure us that they've got the capacity to be able to keep all of these systems running. They've done some really clever programming. They call it Elastic Cloud, and their services actually grow and shrink depending on how many people are consuming it at the time. So it can, in theory, continue to grow as large as it needs from a capacity perspective to be able to support all the users that are there. That said, I've seen some of these applications go down on beautiful sunny days when there's not that many folks involved. So, I mean, there's always risk whenever you're dealing with technology, but the vendors are very confident that they're going to be able to provide these services and keep them up as we work through this transition. Another thing I wanted to mention is the telecommunications side of things. All of our students have access to Skype and Teams, and as faculty member, you do as well. And your telephone is available on your computer. So Skype is your telephone. If you're at home, you can answer calls with your computer. We're working on the conferencing feature in Skype right now so that the conferencing number will appear when you create a Skype meeting with your students so that they can use their telephone to get in rather than using a computer if necessary. So there's a little bit of work going on the back end with that to make that work, but we're working on that right now and we should have that going shortly. And then finally, I'd like to just remind people that right now we've gotten notices from Department of Homeland Security and the FBI relating to all of the scams that are currently active around the whole coronavirus COVID-19 issue. There's a number of them. There's phishing scams. There's scams that are pretending to be surveys, asking for personal information. There are fake charities looking for donations. Just every kind of trick in the book to try to get you to click on something and give up personal information. So, even if you get an email from somebody that looks like they're at Stout, I would encourage you to take a look at the links, make sure that it's real. Go back to the website and click on original links and things like that just to help keep yourself safe. And then I'll turn it over to Heidi.
Okay, we have been working to create web pages to provide a variety of resources for you to get started. First of all, I just want to preface also, we received a report recently about all of our campuses and how many of our courses are online. And Stout actually, I don't know if we were the highest, but we're at 71%. So we are actually doing quite well with having a lot of our courses online and published. That doesn't mean to say all of our courses are ready to teach completely online, but we are several steps ahead of many campuses. So we do have that, and we're going to just continue moving forward in that same direction. So we are continually adding more resources, and the key right now is trying to figure out where do we put this information so everybody can find it. So I'm just going to direct you through our main Stout page, and if you click on the coronavirus planning website, they have added 3 different environments, one for students, families, and friends, one for faculty, instructional staff, and academic staff, and again, one for all employees. We're going to go into faculty and instructional academic staff, and we did have a question earlier this morning about students, and so we will continue to work on that and create a resource for students with some technology tips and resources as well, and we'll add that to the student, family, and friends site. For right now, because as faculty and instructional staff, you may be going here for other things, we also are including our information here as well. So there is a link right here that says resources for faculty and instructional academic staff. So by clicking on that, it will take you actually to the provost's office page. And this is continuously being added, and it may look completely different by next week. So just be prepared for that. As we all know, everything looks different even 2 hours from now. So to start out with, we have a page with instructional technology resources, and we've organized them by many of the tools that Ken talked about, some of the tools that we as a campus are supporting. And let me just put down here. We, of course, are starting with Canvas guides. We have a checklist that is a great start that our LTS team has created on creating a Canvas course. And a lot of you already have a Canvas course, but it just may not have all the content in it. But it does go through some of the main steps that you'll need to take. We also have links to the Canvas instructor guides as well as student guides. There's also video tutorials as well. These resources are available for you if you want to just get started right away, or if you have specific questions about a certain area. Maybe you have your coursework online, but you haven't really used the collaborative tools or some of the groups. So there are going to be resources for those additional activities. We also have a Canvas training course that you can self-enroll in, and it's self-paced, and you can go through and it'll give you some other resources. And it also puts you into Canvas as a student so you can see with the student perspective, because that can be very helpful to know what your students are seeing. In addition, we have some web conferencing tools and video tools, and that can help you connect with your students either synchronously or asynchronously. And I'm not going to go into detail on these tools right now. Katie can talk a little bit more about them in a little bit, and we will also have training sessions on those. But we have links to some KB articles on Blackboard Collaborate, as well as Blackboard Collaborate Alter's actual website and their tutorials. So several to get you started. Then we also have Kaltura Capture, or you may also recognize it as My Media, and that's a tool that you can use to record yourself. And also keep in mind your students can use this. If you have some students who are needing to present, they can also use this tool to record themselves as well, so we can still have that engagement. We have, again, many different articles as well as our own KB articles. Microsoft Teams, as Ken said, we do recommend that you use Blackboard Collaborate and some of those other tools because those are connected right to Canvas, but Teams is an option. Teams is a great option if you want to have some office hours, or if you want to have another type of meeting with your students, but there are some resources. And I'm going to be adding another one. Actually, we just received a video from, I'm not sure, I'm going to draw a blank on who created it, but a faculty member or instructional staff who actually created a crash course in Teams. So we have a lot of staff who are stepping up to help. Nope, someone else. I got an additional one. Kevin Thorpe created a crash course in Canvas. We have a lot of people who are stepping up and saying, hey, here's something I can share, or I'm willing to help, which I'll talk about as well. We have some mentors that we're lining up. Actually, yeah, Camille Peterson created. Perfect. Okay. Yes, so we'll talk about that in more detail. That's great. Thank you so much. And then we have some additional online Stout resources. Take advantage of our LinkedIn learning environment. There may be some resources that you can share in there. Also our open education resources. And then, as I said, we have a crash course in online teaching. We have Stout Online has provided some resources, as well as this new YouTube video on Microsoft Teams. A real short and sweet crash course in Teams. So those are some resources that you can get started with on your own. But of course, our LTS team is ready to work with you as well. They have been busy already trying to prepare for that. On this page, on the right, you'll see a link to in-person and online learning opportunities. So we have several sessions scheduled on those tools that I just referred to. So we have some Blackboard Collaborate. We also have some Canvas, basic and intermediate. And in addition to those being face-to-face, we also have those being provided virtually. So if you can't attend face-to-face, we have some of those. And so they're all scheduled. And on this page, they're broken down by topic or tool. But at the bottom of the page, I also put a weekly view, because for some of you may just want to see, okay, what's happening this week? And so the links are there as well. Basically, we're doing Canvas training on Monday, Blackboard Collaborate on Tuesday, Kaltura on Wednesday, and then Open Labs on Thursday and Friday, and multiple opportunities for that. So a lot of training opportunities. Hopefully you can take advantage of those. In addition, as we said, we have asked your colleagues to see if they would be mentors. So we have a list of people who have offered their support. Not only a list of their names, but also what they're comfortable with and what they would like to or feel comfortable sharing. And that is actually listed currently, here we go, on the Provost page, and it says NTLC Canvas Mentors. And so there's a link to the staff who's already offered to help out, and we continue to get emails every hour on other people who are willing to help. So we really want to tap into the expertise that we have on our own campus. So that is available as well. Also, recording needs. If you have any recording needs, we don't have any specific training sessions. Those are going to be more one-on-one, case by case. Please submit a work order for that. You can email our help desk or call, and we'll create a ticket for you. And then we'll work with you one-on-one to see what your needs are and how we can provide support with any kind of video, especially when in a lab environment and so on. So we do have people ready to help with that as well. Let's go ahead and Katie, if you want to join us up here. Katie's just going to kind of give a quick overview of some of the tools again and why you may want to use one over another. And then we'll talk a little bit more about support and some hotspots. So I screwed up my first slide. So let's see. Oh, no.
Okay, so I think that the hardest part for an instructor right now, if you're not used to being online, is just figuring out where you start, right? So first thing that I would say is look at your syllabus, look where you're headed for the next few weeks, and really if you're going to go out, if we end up extending this for the rest of the semester, and just determining where do you begin with this. You might find that some of your stuff is already into Canvas and it just needs to be reorganized. You might find that you have to do some recordings, or maybe you want to change to a completely live format within Canvas, or like the synchronous trainings within Canvas or synchronous classes in Canvas. We have the ability and the tools to do that. So the first thing that I would say when you're figuring out where do you begin is to not begin with the tool. Because if you don't know how you're going to utilize that tool, you're going to waste some of your energy on that. And then from there, you can review your Canvas course, figure out where your gaps are, and then figure out what tool you're going to use and how you're going to use it intentionally within your class. And then after that, then obviously go into, okay, now I know the tool and I can start designing and start actually implementing the things that I need to implement within my course. So just a little tip, if you're kind of spinning right now and you're thinking like, how am I going to do this? Start with the plan. In terms of the software to use, you had already addressed, or Heidi had already addressed the two different web conferencing tools or two different synchronous tools. These tools will provide real-time training or real-time conferencing. So Blackboard Collaborate, it creates a virtual classroom for you. You can do the same thing within that virtual classroom that you can essentially do in a face-to-face class. So if you have small group discussions that you want to facilitate, if you have the need to show a presentation and to have students discussing based on what you're showing that way, Blackboard Collaborate's probably the way for you to go. It allows for chat functions. It allows for students to break into small groups and facilitate their own small group discussion. They can build things together within it. There's whiteboard functioning in the main room and in the small room that they can be in. It can be recorded, it can be shared. There are some web accessibility features within it. There are some workarounds that we're building KBs on for. So, there are some things that if you're wondering how to build this live and how to do this live, I think Blackboard Collaborate, if you have a lecture, would probably be the best way to go. It's fully integrated in Canvas as well. So your students can access it in Canvas and so can you. So it's an easy setup in terms of getting access to your students. The other alternative then is Teams. Not integrated in Canvas, but everybody has access to it. So you have the ability to tell your students to go into Teams. They have it available through that Microsoft 365 suite. It functions very similarly to what Blackboard functions or how Blackboard functions. There is, cam and microphone that can be used. You can share files, you can share applications. There's a whiteboard feature to that as well. There is a difference in terms of accessibility compliance between the web-based version of Teams and the desktop-based version of Teams. However, what Teams does better than Collaborate is it provides real-time captioning. So if you have a student who has an accessibility need relating to captions, Teams provides it automatically. Blackboard, you have to have someone either manually do it or you have to share your presentation, your PowerPoint, and then there is actually a real-time captioning option within your PowerPoint that you can use as well. So one's a workaround, one's built in, one's integrated. one's not. So you have to kind of figure out, what's easier for you and for your students. Questions on those two from the two people who are going to use it in this session?
Are these slides going to be?
We'll make them available. Yeah.
Yes, all of the things that Katie and Heidi are referencing either are or will be on the website. Correct.
I get it. So the other tool that we have is Kaltura. So that's a video making tool, fully integrated in Canvas. It's integrated within MyMedia, right? So if you create the video, it automatically saves it in your MyMedia cloud library, which is accessible through Canvas as well. Very easy to use. Doesn't cause an issue in terms of storage in your Canvas, because everything in MyMedia is cloud-based, and then you embed it within Canvas. So you don't have to worry about large files trying to get to your students. I've heard a lot of instructors who have said, I'm going to just do an audio recording and embed it within my PowerPoint. That's an option. But if you are doing that for 75 slides, you're going to have a very large file, and your students are going to have some issues with it. So I would suggest chunking up a video and using Kaltura to do that, and not embedding audio into your PowerPoint. Kaltura allows you to record yourself, your desktop, and then obviously your audio as well. And you can decide any variation of those settings. Again, really easy to use, fully integrated, and it's supported by LTS. Whereas if you're building something or making a video in YouTube, we're not supporting that. So we won't be able to help with that. Go for it.
Yeah, Kaltura would be a really nice way if you have a lab and you want to record that lab. And we do have some resources such as cameras as well that people can use. And it'd be a really nice way to record a lab if you have something like that.
The other great part of Kaltura is that your students can use it as well. So if your students have a presentation and you don't want to postpone those presentations, there's a few options. One, they can jump into Blackboard and they can present just like everyone else can. Two, they can record their presentations and then they can share it to their classmates via a discussion in Canvas. So it's not that we can't continue life as usual, right? Life is just shifting a little bit to a different world, and we just have to get crafty in terms of how we do it in an online setting. But it's available and it's possible. Questions?
I've got just a couple of comments.
Sure.
On the Microsoft Teams, I didn't know if I've made myself clear earlier when I talked about Teams, but Teams does support telephone conference calls and dial into meetings and events. So it allows people to use a telephone if that's all they have. And the other thing, when you brought up the Kaltura and YouTube, I think it's just really important that people always consider their intellectual property when they're dealing with these things. And if you're using our tools, Blackboard Collaborate, Teams, Kaltura, those tools, your intellectual property is protected. Whereas if you use YouTube, it's under a completely different set of terms and conditions that we don't have any control over.
And I should mention, because you brought it up for Teams, Blackboard also allows you to dial in as well. So if you have students who are having audio issues, there is a dial-up that they can use to get in, which will help them hopefully do some troubleshooting if they need to, or for you as well. There are some complaints about, well, is it going to freeze up on me? It might. If you have a bad internet connection, there's no guarantee that any of these tools are going to work, right? If you're in the country or you're in a place where the internet's not strong, then yeah, you're probably going to have some issues. But that issue's not the tool, it's the internet, right? So you have to take that into consideration. To work around that, record them. And that capability is in Teams and it's in Blackboard, and then obviously Kaltura because it's a video making tool. So record your sessions and share them in Canvas, or make them available to your students in Canvas. It's very easy to find for your students. And they have the option then of not missing out on that content. They're missing out on the interactivity, right? They're not gonna be able to raise their hand and answer the questions that you have, but they will still be able to get the content that you're recording. So that's another option.
Actually, we've had some success in some students, even off of their phone, connecting with their camera to Collaborate. We've had situations where even in evening classes where students are taking these as a secondary class in the night to finish their masters, and they've been able to, at least for the first half hour on their way home, listen and actually even use their video camera on occasion. And stopping the car, but on their, so it is actually pretty robust in that regard. And that's the same with Teams. You can do the same with Teams.
Okay, just want to share a couple other things regarding our students and internet access. It's a good segue. We are going to be providing hotspots to students who need them. We are currently working on a form so that our students can sign up and request access, and with a reason, and then we will send the hotspots to the students at home. So that will become available. That link will be on, on the student page. And
The link will be available to students sometime over this weekend on the student portal part of the Corona page.
right.
And there are a limited number. That number can grow. It's really going to depend on what that student need is and as they self-identify. Faculty have their office to come to for connectivity. So at this point, it's completely students. If we ever move to needing to work remotely because the pandemic has grown, then we will extend or explore what those options look like for faculty. But at this point, the hotspots are completely student focused.
Okay, we also want to make sure that we're providing support. So we have, as usual, we have our help desk. You can send an email to our help desk. You can also call. And that also includes now support for LTS. So if you need Katie, Mike, or Lexi's assistance, Ed and Nick, we really want to stress that we need to have you put in a ticket, because then we have someone who's making sure that they get assigned to the correct person. They are going to be extremely busy in trainings and open labs in the next couple of weeks. And so we really want to make sure that faculty and staff are submitting a ticket for that request. We also have taken some time to train our client technology services team on some of the Canvas tools, so they can also provide a little bit of support on Canvas. Obviously, we have our experts who know how to build a course, but they can also provide some support on Canvas. So we have done a little bit of that to help. In addition, there is Canvas support. So Canvas has their own support, and it's 24/7. So keep that in mind also if you need support, if you're working late and you just need a question answered. They have a chat support, they have phone support, they have email support. And so again, their hours are longer than ours are, although we're keeping some long hours as well. But just keep that in mind that you may want to go to them. Now, please also understand, we are not the only campus using Canvas. So, their help may be busy as well, but it's another option for you. So we have your help desk, creating a ticket, and then also using Canvas support. Also, I would highly recommend reaching out to your colleagues. They, like I said before, we have a lot of mentors and they are ready to help. So I would say, team up, work with your colleagues to help you in some of the questions that you may have. Let's see. I think that is all we have, unless you have some questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you are going to ask a question, just turn on your mic in front of you. I'm not sure if anyone's watching online. We're not sure. If you have any questions, feel free to post those questions as well. And we'll be happy to answer. And if we don't have the answer, we will find the answer for you. This will also be recorded and posted to our website as well. So if you have other people who you know maybe wanted to be here and couldn't, you can share this information with them. So does anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I have several of them. So there are several types of software that are unique to my program, and some of them are only housed on a few computers in the lab. So normally we would do a demo, and then students would be assigned to use and interact with it. And I'm just struggling to figure out am I going to only be limited to doing a video capture demo and the students never get to use it?
Well, I think we'll tag team on this. I think, I don't know if Katie said it today or earlier. It may be a scenario where, because of course we don't know what's going to happen in 2 weeks. We hope for
Right.
the best, right? That are there ways that you can reorganize where you would have been presenting in the next couple of weeks, but maybe you can shift it.
Yes.
Obviously, work on the demos. Record a demo which would be ideal.
Okay.
And then, if in 2 weeks we are at a different point, we may have to come up with some other solutions. But I would say record the demo to at least get that in front of them. And then I don't know if our software team have any other suggestions as well as Katie.
Hit your mic.
Hit your mic if you have anything to share, software gurus.
The Cape is part of ESCO now, and there's a fob that the students have in the lab where they can download it onto their computers, and I understand they have to log into the university network key server in order to then get access to use the software on their laptops. Is that still the scenario? And how are students gonna get the software on their laptops if they can't be in the lab to get it off the flash drive?
Find a way to duplicate that and get those out to the students, and it doesn't have to do with the key server, but they would have.
But we could set some instructions in place and tell them how to VPN to get to that particular either software package or install, right? Okay.
But that's only for Cape. The palette design and some of the other unique ones, those are only licensed for those 6 machines. There's really no way to incorporate those into an activity if we are strictly online format.
What are you most concerned about?
Well, the printing of labels is a significant lab activity. That one will probably go by the wayside if we don't come back to campus. Cape, absolutely. This is something that they could work with and learn on their, in a remote location. They could do that. And then the palette design software, which is very limited licensing. And I'm thinking, I guess just record a demo and say, hey, it's really powerful. Too bad you can't use it. I don't know.
Oh,
I
and
go back to Katie's comment. The first thing you have to do is come up with a plan, and that's where I'm just.
yeah, so and I get that, right? Because not everything can be a Canvas quiz. So I think at that point we're looking at how can we build the most authentic experience for them, right? And what does that authentic assessment look like? So I think that is definitely a meeting of the minds coming into LTS, having us sit down, really having us take a look at what that assignment looks like, and just trying to figure out, is there an alternative that we can come up with that still gets them to, the use of that material, right? Or gets them at a higher level thinking in terms of that material or in terms of that tool, right? So, maybe it's showing them a demo and coming up with some other sort of assessment so that way they're still thinking about it, not just like, oh, that's a great video, but really thinking about how it's used, how they can utilize it in industry, and that type of thing. So it won't be the same, but hopefully we can get you close.
And so I think I also heard Peggy say that she was able to at least reach out to the company for one or two of those to see if they would be flexible with licensing.
Well, but you have that on the flash drive, right?
Yeah.
So you and I talk and we'll figure out
Yep.
how many students you have and maybe you can get a list to me. We'll work it out to get it to them.
Okay.
Where we can, or if a faculty member kind of raises their hand and says, is there any way to make this software that is only in the lab available to students? Our team is available to talk that through with you. In some cases where the computer that they're using isn't powerful enough, we might have to coach you through something else. In some cases where the licensing is very limited, we can at least reach out to the vendor to see if we can have any flexible alternative solution. And it'll have to be handled on a case-by-case basis. But absolutely, Peggy can work with you on that. So, yep.
I know that the situation with the limited licenses that, I've worked with them long enough to get the limited licenses. I know the answer already, so I won't be burdening Peggy or anybody else.
You know, then you know, so, yep.
Right.
Do you have any other questions, or did you have any questions?
Those are the first
Two
two
minutes.
questions
One's on your
to
mind.
how to come up with a plan. So I'm trying to find
Well, step one is to come up with a plan. Just come on in. You know where we live.
Yeah.
Where they're now, Sue bought us cots. So we're feeling pretty comfortable. New toothbrushes, which is pretty great. Yeah, you know where we are. You bet.
Yes.
One of the things that
Do you have your,
students
can you,
brought up.
can you turn your mic on? That's okay.
One of the things that my students brought up yesterday is they go off to the far off reaches of wherever. And connection wise, what I'm grappling with is, do I go live during the regularly scheduled class period, or should I record it first, then try to go live, or what's your recommendations?
So, if they have a poor connection and you record it, they're not gonna be able to watch the recording anyway, right? So you're taking a gamble on that, right? I think it's a horse apiece. I really do. Honestly, what I would do, because you want your students to still stay in the routine, hold a live session and record it.
Right.
If nothing else, if no one comes in there, you still have that recording. You can get them that recording, and it's web-based at that point, right? So I would still try to conduct class in Blackboard, and if no one shows up, I would give them the link and say, I still recorded this lecture. I still taught as if y'all were here with me. Here's the
Right.
link. Watch it, get the content, let me know what questions you have.
And that provides more flexibility to that student, so if they don't have it maybe in their home, they could go to another location and watch it where they do have access, so at least gives them some flexibility, not having to be there at that specific time.
But we are leaving the decision about how you deliver your content, when you deliver your content, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, completely up to the faculty member or instructor. And we're asking students to reach out and talk to those instructors remotely or via email and let them know if they're having challenges or if they're having internet connectivity, because every student experience, like you said, is going to be different.
If you have a class where you feel like students can self-pace through it, then go async, right? Don't try to hold a class session. Record a video and throw it up there. But if you have a class where it's really heavy in discussion, I just met with an instructor today who said, like, my class is all discussion, and I can't imagine doing that online, right? I can't imagine doing that through Canvas. And I said, no, because it's going to be slower, right? It's going to be a little less authentic. And I had said, then hold a virtual class, because that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't want to take the face-to-face out of his class. Go ahead.
Does the chat function allow you to record
Yes.
conversations?
Yep.
Because sometimes that's faster than going into Collaborate, because then I bring up the whiteboard and all that other stuff to like mind map and everything. So
Are you asking if the chat function in Collaborate records? Is that what you're asking?
Well, there's a chat function in Canvas, but then is there a
Okay,
chat
so
function?
that's different.
Yeah.
That's different. So there is a chat function in Blackboard. And so while you're mind mapping, they're able to sit right there with you and chat right along with you. The chat function in Canvas it's only live if you're in it. Does that make sense? So it's really like an open-ended discussion kind of.
I was only going to use the chat for Canvas for office hours, virtual office hours.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the best tool to do that.
What would you suggest? Blackboard?
Yeah,
The whole
I
thing?
would suggest Blackboard.
The whole thing?
Yep, and you have an open-ended course in Blackboard through Canvas. Everybody does.
Okay.
So if you could say to your students in an announcement, I'm holding virtual office hours between the hours of 10 and 11, jump into the course that's created, meet me in there.
Okay.
And then if you have students who say, I need to meet with you one-on-one, you can create a breakout room within Blackboard, and then you can say, all right, I'm gonna leave the main room. Everybody who's in the main room, hang on a second, and then bounce that student to the breakout room to give you some privacy.
Okay. Can I have both open at the same time?
Both rooms?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can use, if you had office hours in which you just wanted to meet privately with one student or so, you can set up a meeting it through Teams as well. And then it's just with that one student.
Okay.
And then nobody else would be in that room.
Any questions online by chance? Well, we are going to be here for you. If you have questions that come up later, feel free again. Like I said, use the help desk. Even if it's just communicating with Katie and Lexi, if you have specific questions for them, and they will address them as soon as they can. But they're open. You know, their open labs are again. They're going to be available next Thursday and Friday, but they'll be training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, all right. Does anyone else have anything that they want to add? Oh, Mike is here too. Yeah, I know. He's on vacation. He's going to come back till. Oh, we hope not. Okay, well, thanks for stopping. Yeah. But thanks for stopping in this afternoon. Again, if you have any questions, let us know. Again, this is going to be recorded and we will be posting it on that Provost Office website as well as our website as well. So, all right. Thank you.